All right, we're fucking live.
Hell
So,
yeah.
Oh, all right.
okay, fucking, well, not live, but we're, it's
Recording.
like colloquial shorthand for I hit the record button, so say the words. But anyway,
Tight. All right. So, do
fucking,
you want to introduce it today?
yeah, I'll introduce it. We watched, I've never, just to put context in, we watched season 1 of RWBY. I'm gonna try and make it to later seasons, but for context, I have never seen RWBY. I know nothing about it except that one of the girls had a scythe, and I have no emotional investment in this whatsoever. Dan and Krista are the exact opposite, and have apparently watched this show multiple times. And like, I don't know, have you guys written fanfics yet, or are you not at that point?
I think Dan has.
Okay.
We're getting there.
Okay,
We're
so
getting there because we want
We're
we want to
practically
run
there.
we want to run a RWBY homebrew D&D campaign, which
There we
I
go.
guess counts as fan fiction.
yeah, that's you want you are invested in the universe of this story.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, sort of. Krista,
in
you
the
can
universe,
go
I'd
first.
say. Okay.
Krista, you go first.
So
Explain
Dan
your relationship.
was the one who got me into RWBY.
Okay.
So this is his fault.
God damn it, Dan.
Completely.
You motherfucker.
So I'm a relatively new fan compared to people who have been watching for fucking ages like Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got into it like a few years ago.
Okay.
And I think I would describe my relationship with RWBY at this point as it's interesting enough to sometimes give me hope, but at this point I'm pretty much just watching because I need to fucking see what happens to Nora Valkyrie.
It's like the more I hear you guys talk about it, the more your relationship with this show reminds me of my relationship with Harry Potter, where like it was something it's something I love and I have a deep emotional connection to it, but at the same time, it's like, bro, there's some problems. There's some
That relationship has soured over the years.
yeah, JK's kind of we're gonna bring up Harry Potter at some point, but it's not yet. So
It's almost inevitable that two series are going to be brought up in comparison, and that's Harry Potter and My Hero Academia.
correct. That was
Yes.
that actually was the other one I was. Thank you for reminding me. So,
You're welcome.
To make it like easy, I'm thinking I'd like to go through the series, like at least the first season, which we watched, chronologically as much as
That's fine.
possible. And go bit by bits.
Can I also explain my relationship to RWBY?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Dan. I cut you off.
Dan's here. He exists.
I am here. Hello again.
Mhm.
Hello again, members of the internet.
Oh,
Prepare your keyboards to flame me.
Yeah, angry comments.
Oh yeah, I'm fully prepared. I have a very love-hate relationship with RWBY. So before RWBY even came out, when I was about to go to college, I was on a class trip, and a friend showed me the trailers. So this was before RWBY had,
the character trailers that we watched.
That we also watched. Yes, I saw the character trailers, and I thought the fight scenes were cool in that, but other than that, I didn't really know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Couple years later, about halfway through volume 3, when I was in an anime club that I was a part of in college, we started watching the episodes coming out at the end of the tournament in volume 3.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point, it had hooked me because enough was going on that I didn't know what was actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
But what was happening on screen got me interested enough to go back and watch the series.
Okay. And I think it's, just real quick, I think it's interesting that you said you started watching in season 3, and that was what hooked you, because from what you've told me, season 3 is apparently the best season.
Yes, and that might be a bit of my own rose-tinted glasses saying it's the best.
Mm-hmm.
We could discuss it when we actually get to that season. However, true. I do think once you get past season 4, things take a bit of a nosedive. And I have seen the series multiple times because I've introduced multiple people to the series. Mm-hmm. So I've had like once or twice where I've actually just sat down and watched it a couple of times myself, and then I've introduced the show to different people. Krista being one of them.
You're like a RWBY drug dealer.
God damn it!
Yeah, a little bit. So at this point, it's much like Krista. It has just become obligation that I am watching this series to the end, because at this point, it continues to hurt me, and I know it will. I am fully aware that it will just continue to get worse and worse.
Dan,
and
you can just
keep
break up
making
with
me
her. You don't
angry.
need to stay with her. Leave Ruby. She only hurts you. Oh, God.
She digs her
Alright.
fucking sniper scythe so deep into your heart.
And then you're like, you can't even run, because as soon as you try to run, she has a goddamn sniper rifle. She'll
And
just
super
Oh yeah, you get
plug your kneecaps and shit.
you just get shot down. Anyway,
But yeah, with the introductions out of the way, let's just dive in. Fucking, also, what time do we start? 1:40. Okay, there we go. Got a timer. Fucking episode 1, immediately, I'm never a fan. Like, I get they gotta explain the world and the rule set and all that, but I was never a fan of the whole rolling, like, in a new world where shit's different from the real world. It's like, that immediately was like, okay. And then she was like, humans came from dust. And I'm like, did they? But then, like, apparently dust is not actually dust. It's like a magical power source.
well, okay, so the reason why that is the case is because the whole point of RWBY is that it's essentially co-opting a whole bunch of fairy tales and folklore and things like that.
Because they did call the monsters, like, Grimm.
Yes,
Yes.
named after the Grimm's fairy tales. The whole dust metaphor is a religious metaphor. You know, the whole dust to dust, things
Ashes
like
to
that.
ashes, yeah. I did,
Exactly.
I like that kind of little playing with symbolism and shit, but, I don't know. That's not even really a criticism. That was just something I was just like, it's one of those, I can just hand wave it away. It's like, you gotta set up the story somehow, so it's like, let's just get it over with. And then,
It's like the storybook opening.
yeah, I liked how the show started with a shop being robbed by the same dude 14 times.
Oh, well,
And I get that's a budgetary
Yeah.
thing, but it's still funny as shit. And
yeah, all the mooks from Junior's Club all look the same, except for one glorious character, Roman Torchwick.
oh god. Do we meet him yet, or
Yeah,
he's
he's
the
the dude with-
redhead guy.
okay, that's
with
the redhead
cane.
guy. Okay,
Yeah.
fucking
the guy who looks like Alex from A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. The only thing that got me was that so dust is like powerful, right? Like you can use
Yeah,
it.
it's essentially like the way normal people can use magic.
Okay, and it's just sitting there in a shop behind a glass case, and also in like apparently tubes that can just disperse it like a whipped cream machine. And
Well,
the
more like those machines at a candy store that have the candy powder
oh
in
my
it.
god, you're
Remnant-
right. Yeah, fucking.
Remnant is a supremely open carry society.
And that's
It's the gun store.
yeah, it's. And you think like
No, it's the ammo
who would
store.
rob a gun
Oh, yeah, but
store?
you know
There's
what I
all these
mean,
guns,
like-
but the only security is just some old man behind the counter who can't open his fucking eyes.
It's because everyone has weapons in RWBY. Except for that old man, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like this. It's like we're gonna steal. It's like, and you don't think like maybe the government would have been like, yeah, we have all this like really volatile, powerful shit that can turn people superhuman. Should we keep an eye on that? Maybe
Wait,
give
Dan,
Van.
what is the government?
Is there even a government?
In Vale? I don't
Yeah, that's-
know. The only
That's
government.
something I've never fucking thought about. Is like
The-
Atlas has a government.
Yes,
Does
Vale. I have no idea. I think
Does Vale
Ozpin
have
just
a
runs everything.
okay? He's just King Tyrant of Vale.
Well, when
I
we
don't
get
know,
to
man.
when we get to season 6, that will kind of make sense.
It's just I never fucking thought about that. The fact that there's like no
No, there is no
references to government until
there's
like
no
Atlas.
discernible government in Vale, and to a lesser extent, there's no government in Haven either.
So that's fun.
Lit, but it's the first
I never
episode.
thought about that.
We don't
But
care
yeah,
about world
episode
building. So, and then after that, then this is the 14-year-old girl with this big ass. That's the first instinct that we or the first instance where it's like fight scenes, cool. So RWBY as a show with like fight scenes, really fucking good. And you guys told me that basically it was created by people who like animate fight scenes, and this was just basically their excuse to like animate a bunch of cool fight scenes with a story. That
At
ties it
least
together.
one of the main creators, Monty Ohm.
And so it's like that's the thing. It's like all like the fight scene, especially that first one. It looks good. It is the only thing is that immediately I started asking questions as soon as she pulled out a gun and then shot people, and like nobody appeared to be injured, and that is explained by the aura, which will come later. But at this point, it's and like since it's this early, I'm kind of at the point where I can accept that weird shit is happening because it looks cool, and I don't really care as long as it looks cool. But then we get to the point where fucking then like they. So she chases the dude out, the redhead guy. He climbs on the roof, gets into a helicopter, and then apparently the teacher at the school she's gonna go to just shows up, and then she starts like throwing rocks at apparently what is the most bulletproof jetliner in existence.
Until the ice crystals come in and
Yeah.
just pierce the entire plane. But the plane's fine.
Yeah, and
The plane is absolutely fine.
but I'm struggling to ascertain the power levels here and whether or not they are actually too weak to damage a vehicle like that, or if that's just a strong fucking plane. But those
Steve,
questions can be answered later.
Yeah, if you have a problem with power levels in season 1, oh
Oh,
boy, my
God.
friend, are you
Oh,
going
no.
to be livid later.
Yeah,
Which is why I hope we fucking get there.
yeah, we should get there. But yeah, the whole it's like I can get the setup where it's like, yeah, cool fight scenes, shit's gonna go down, but then we go into the scene of how she actually gets recruited to this school.
Yeah, okay, so quick bit of lore lesson here is that the entire the kingdom of Vale, in which Ruby Rose, the main character, comes from, they go to combat school. Basically, they're training to become hunters and huntresses to fight the creatures of Grimm, which are these like black shadowy creatures that take the form of certain animals and have all these like bone bits sticking out of them. So she is currently at, I guess, what you would call the middle school level of combat school, and she wants to go to like the big high school university, which is Beacon Academy.
Yeah, and I was like, so is Beacon the same grade level as the school she was at before, or is this
No.
like okay,
No.
so it's
She
it's next
skipped a
grade,
grade.
but it's
She was-
also okay.
You can assume she was maybe like the equivalent of an 8th grader, and they let her
Okay.
skip to freshman year.
Nice. So she's supposedly a prodigy, who's like, or at the very least, she's advanced enough that she could skip ahead of her peers.
Correct. And slight spoiler for later, but it is mentioned. She said she was trained by her uncle Crow, who also uses a scythe.
Okay.
And Ozpin, the headmaster, the guy who comes in and gives her the plate of cookies and is all fucking shady and weird. He only knew one other scythe wielder, a dusty old Crow, so there is an implication that Ozpin knows who Crow is,
Okay.
or
We
at
also
the very
see
least...
Ozpin get a text message from a man
Crow
named Crow
later.
that says the queen has pawns.
And just
You can
so
assume that Ozpin and Crow are somehow connected.
they like their chess metaphors. Fucking.
They like their chess metaphors, they also really like their Wizard of Oz metaphors.
Oh,
Because
God.
that's another thing, is every single character, at least at this point in RWBY, is based off of a fairy tale character.
Yeah.
which
If
includes,
it's not a
like-
fairy tale, it's a myth or a legend.
Yes.
Yeah, which is like
It's
that's
some kind of mythos.
'Cause, like,
like
I mean,
we could run down the list of characters and say what each of them are.
that's true. Do we care, or
Do you care?
not particularly? But
Okay.
All right.
I just need to know that there was an attempt. Like I like those little like those details that the authors put in for it's like it doesn't really change the course of the story. It's just more like it's that thing. It's unless it's like an illusion, like unless like if you like say you name your character like Snow White. And it's like, oh, she's probably gonna have like something bad happen to her later. Like if
Oh,
you're parallel.
Oh, boy.
do we have a character named Snow White? I don't know. Do you
we-
know German, Steve?
Yeah.
Do we have a character whose name is literally
Yeah.
Snow White in German?
Yeah, do
No, it's
you know
Vice. That means.
Weiss Schnee.
Schnee.
Oh god,
White snow.
Vice Schnee. I hate.
She is
Weiss
literally snow. Weiss Schnee.
So you know
Just
something
pronounced American.
bad might
Yep.
happen to her later. Anyway,
Well, also, I
fucking...
mean, there is one character who we'll get to later, who we'll talk about. You don't know this. That's a spoiler. Never mind.
Oh god.
Wait, what?
Something bad happens to somebody later on.
I mean,
Nice.
bad things happen to everyone, Dan.
That's true.
Like
Yeah,
me,
but it's
when I
all
sat down to
perspective.
watch this fucking show.
Oh God! All right.
yeah.
But no, just sorry, to go chronologically, when they sit down they actually recruit her. Did they just like not know she existed and then the teacher was just out cuz the way I thought was that when the glasses professor, who you know is a professor because she wore glasses, when she shows up.
Okay, so her name is Glenda Goodwitch.
Okay, Glenn. Okay.
All right.
Moving on. So when she shows up, I was like, okay, maybe like they were watching her and they were like testing her abilities or some shit. Which I don't know why you would need to stop a, a robbery to get into a school, but okay. But then they were talking like they had no idea who she was, and they were like, "Wow, you're really strong, aren't you?" And I was so either they were following her, in which case like wouldn't you know that she's already strong, or they just happened to show up at the same time that she happened to stop a robbery. And,
I think Glinda didn't know who she was and Ozpin did, but
okay.
I think
That's-
Ozpin would definitely know who she is because of Crow.
Yeah, because I'd be like, at the very least, like if he's the head of like a school that's like supposedly seeking out top candidates for their school, would he not like, look into the other schools and see their top performing students? Like this chick built a scythe sniper rifle on her own.
I mean, yeah, but she also says later on that everyone at that school builds their own weapons.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. It's more I don't like having to ask questions this early on about what the fuck is happening. But and it's like it gets the job done. It's like at the end of the day, all my nitpicking is just that, where it's like she does the thing, saves a dude. Teachers find her and they're like, "Hey, you want to come to special school?" And she says, "Yes, please, thank you." And then she goes to special school and the story begins. Then we meet John. And the
Vomit
first...
Boy Jean.
Oh man, that yeah, the first we get is him just puking in the rocket, and that was fine. I'm like, okay, so he's the scared boy. Then he shows up to the school, and apparently, like, so if I'm getting it right, you have to make your own weapon, or not. At the very least, you have to bring your own weapon. And
Yes.
so Ruby has a scythe that can turn into a gun, and John
Yes.
has a sword and a shield
yes.
that his
Yes.
grandfather apparently used, which is
He has a normal ass sword and a shield that can turn into a sheath.
that's like the equivalent of going to West Point and being like, "Hey guys, I brought this fucking Luger my grandpa used in World War I. I think he killed Franz Ferdinand with it." Fuck. Oh my god. And I'm like, God
fun.
damn. And then Snow White shows up. Excuse me, Vice
White.
Snee. Or is it Snee?
Weiss
Schnee.
Schnee.
Okay, who's rich bitch, stuck up, spoiled brat.
She is the heiress of the Schnee Dust Company. So her family does a lot of the mining for dust for around the world.
Yeah.
Like think of them as a mining typhoon.
Tycoon.
Okay.
Fuck. I
A
can't
mining
can't
typhoon would be a
English.
a mining typhoon would
mining
be a
typhoon.
horrible disaster.
I'm a stupid Dan. Let me be.
Oh god. So anyway,
Let me be a stupid bitch in peace.
as far as the school design, discount Hogwarts, fine.
Very
Tall
much.
Spires. We can fuck
Very
with
much
this.
discount.
We can work with that. And then
Well, you skipped over meeting Ruby's sister.
that's true, yeah. Which is
I
I like her,
yeah.
but she's also crazy.
So
yeah, that sounds about right.
yeah, and then also in the same scene, we kind of get introduced to all four of the main girls.
Yeah.
So when they get to the courtyard, Ruby is her big character thing is that she's the young gun, the young up and comer,
Mhm.
but she's super dorky when it comes to weapons. Like weapons are her thing. She doesn't like people.
Yeah.
So she's going crazy for all the weapons that she's seeing around, and Yang is like, this is my kid's sister. I'm in high school. Later, bitch. I'm gonna go see with all my friends. Bye.
Yep.
And then Weiss shows up. Ruby doesn't know how to operate dust, even though her bullets have dust in them.
Yeah.
Do they at this point? I can't remember.
Do we even know?
I don't actually know. I don't know if that's covered. I think she just has been shooting things.
They do later on, but I don't know if she actually has dust bullets at the moment. But she sneezes a little bit of dust at Weiss, who like spilled all of her dust everywhere, and it explodes.
Oh man.
I feel like that should have caused a little bit more damage, but it didn't.
I feel like it should just be more regulated. Like that should be a controlled substance, but people could just bring it into a school.
Yeah, man. People make
She's
bullets
rich,
out
dude.
of that shit. And then we meet Blake, the B in Team RWBY.
Yeah, she like I could not get a fucking handle on her. I knew she was supposed to be like the dark, brooding, edgy girl, but it's like I don't. She was friendlier as a trope. She was friendlier than I expected. Like normally that character when they do that, they go like a full on like don't talk to any. Like they are the not the they're basically the tsundere of the group, but they're more like it's less funny anger and it's more just like I just don't want to talk to you. Like Vice is like the traditional tsundere where she's like it's not like I want to be your friend, Baka. Fuck you. I hate you.
Sings an elaborate song about loneliness.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to be your friend.
But so we meet Blake, and in her character short, because let's be honest here, most of the character shorts didn't really have too much plot relevant details except for two.
Except for hers.
Blake's had plot relevant details in that she is robbing a train with
a terrorist.
Well, we find out later that he's a terrorist.
I'm sorry, a freedom fighter. My bad.
It's a redheaded dude. It's a redheaded dude with an edgy anime jacket and a katana, and the scabbard of the katana turns into a gun.
Yeah.
And they're robbing a train. And on the train are robots and dust. At the end of her character short, she betrays this other character by derailing part of the train and taking the dust with her. And in Yang's trailer, we find out that Roman is getting all of his guys from this one club owner where Deadmau5 is performing.
Also, I'm going to issue a slight correction to Blake's, because I think in Blake's trailer, based on the car she cut off, I think Adam was standing on the one with the dust. What it was trying to imply with the line, like, what about the crew members, is that they were in the first car, and, like, the human car is the one that she cut off from Adam.
She just cut off a random car. It was an open car.
Yeah, I thought that she was at the front of the train with the human people who were like driving it.
Okay.
And that she separated the goods from the people to say like just take the dust and get the fuck out of here.
And that would have been cool, but it was conveyed so poorly.
It wasn't conveyed clearly, but that's what I think was supposed to be happening there.
And that would
the only thing I remember is that it was an open car at like the end of the train.
Yeah, and that was like I also liked how, and again, I know this is more for like
the front of the train. I thought they were running up to the front.
I thought they started in the front.
The fact we have 3 different opinions means it was conveyed poorly.
Yes, it does.
So. But also, my thing was that like when she cut the train off, it's like we just saw these two literally like leaping football field lengths to fight robots, and yet she cuts off the tracks and it starts like slowly moving away, and he's just like, oh no, I can't make it, I can't make the jump. Unless he was like specifically just like, just let her do her thing. But like, I don't
See,
know. That was another nitpick where I was like,
that's
just jump, idiot.
that's why I thought that she was leaving him with the dust, and she was like removing the car with the people on it, because then he might have been like, "Oh, this is what I'm technically here for," and just stood there with his goal accomplished. Like,
That's
"Oh,
true,
bye,
yeah.
bitch."
Maybe it's just confusing because there was clearly cargo on the car she tore off.
Yeah. And so, like, I don't know.
I don't know,
Either
man.
way, it
Maybe
was.
we can rewatch it before the next episode and
Yeah.
like try and figure it out. But it's not
Weird
super relevant
weird
at this
argument
point.
aside. Yeah, weird argument aside. Later on, they go orientation where funny hijinks aside, Yang makes puns.
Yeah. And I like how they're again, this is a budgetary constraint, so I can't really make fun of them for it. And it could just be a stylistic thing, but I like how everybody is just like a silhouette.
Oh
And
no,
it's
that's a budget thing. They don't have
But
the budget to make
It's
to make
so
50
funny
characters.
though.
It is really funny. It is the extreme of the anime trope of main
Yeah,
character
because
stands
like
out.
you look at a classroom in like an anime, it's like who's the main character? Is it the girl with the purple hair? Could be, and everyone else is just like the same dude with like the bowl cut and the brown hair, and it's like here we're just saying like they're telling us we don't give a fuck about any of these people. Here's the main characters. Shut up. And I'm like, okay, you know what? As a stylistic thing, that was actually kind of cool, and I commend them for that. But it was still. Yeah, that's a thing that happened.
It's noticeable.
Yes, and it's a style. That's the one thing I will say about RWBY is that the whole thing is, as far as like stylization and the art style goes, big like the contrasting colors of the, especially like the heavy use of reds that they use a lot. Very nice to look at, and it makes the fight scenes that much more visceral when they actually get going.
Cherish it while it lasts. I'm sorry.
Oh boy.
But he is right. The bold colors are so fucking nice.
Oh,
Yes.
God.
The color palette in the early seasons, I think, is very pleasant to look at. Animation aside, because oh man, are the running animations a little janky.
Yeah,
Well,
some
that's
of
the thing is they go full hog on the fight animations, and whenever
everything
they're not
else is just
fighting, they just like
fun.
Lego walk around.
Oh man.
Oh,
So
Ruby.
yeah, moving on chronologically, there's the then we meet I think her name was like Pyrrha or Pyra.
Yes.
Okay.
Pyranigos.
And then we meet her in the locker room where John this is the first nitpick I had with John's character was because they kind of played him off as like the awkward sort of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm a fish out of water. Oh, I'm the underdog. Oh no. But then he goes in and he immediately starts trying to like chat up the ladies. And I get they're supposed to be like, oh, it's fake bravado. But it's like you need to have at least a little bit of real bravado to like go as hard as he was going at that. He's like, "What's up, gorgeous? What's up, girl?" And then like the other girl's talking to him, and he's like, "I'll talk to you later. How you doing?" Like you can't just fake it that like if your baseline is like I don't know what I'm doing. I got my granddad's sword. My shield gets bigger. I don't know what's going on here. It's like, "Sup, bitch." That was a switch I was not prepared for. So
I will admit that goes a little hard.
yeah.
But it's not out of the realm of possibility because I have both seen that type of character act like that before. I've also seen that in real life.
Yeah, and I don't know. I get that. That might be one of those things where it's like reality has no obligation to be realistic. Where it's like if it happened in real life, I wouldn't really question it, but because it's a show and it's a character, then it's like I'm questioning it more often. So I feel like they could have done it better so that he was more. I could see them doing that same thing, but I wish they had done it more consistent with the character they had already set up in the scenes previous. But
That's entirely understandable.
yeah, that's just my personal little nitpick. But again, we can like it is what it is. It's a nitpick. But then we go on to the actual. Was
The
this
initiation.
like initiation? Okay, I was like, was this like to determine if they would actually get into the school,
No, this was basically
or is it just like a test?
It was the first test that they had. It was also forming the team. So in RWBY's universe, every set of huntsmen and huntresses have a team.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4 members, and there's a team leader, and all the all the team names are named after the first letter of the members of each team. So we'll learn more about them later. But one of the more popular teams, which is about the adults like Ruby's mom, Yang's mom, their dad, and Uncle Crow, their team Stark, that was led by Ruby's mom, Summer Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's STRQ.
So my whole thing with like how they made the teams was that the instructors were like, we're gonna launch you into the forest via catapult. By the way, coming back to that, because they made a shitty joke that I hated. Their whole thing was that like the way the teams are gonna be is that we're just gonna launch you haphazardly, and the first person you lock eyes with, that's your partner.
How the hell would you ever police that?
Exactly. It's like, what if you just like she tried to do it, like the fucking Vice,
Yes.
like she
Weiss totally tried to get out of being partners with Ruby.
yeah, because she gets launched, she sees Ruby, Ruby's like, yeah, my teammate. Vice is like, haha, pass. Then she goes and she sees John, who got impaled. We'll come back to how stupid this was. He got impaled by a spear. So, and then she's just like, fuck it, I'll go back with Ruby. So it's like, yeah, unenforceable.
You came back.
Yeah, it's,
that was actually a funny.
That was a
that's
funny
actually
scene.
funny
If there were
joke.
more of those, I wouldn't be so irritated. But anyway.
Well, that's the thing.
before-
That's the thing is that some of the comedic timing is really good,
Yeah.
and some of the comedic timing is really painful.
Oh god. But even how they launched him, it's like they did the whole joke where it's like John's like, so how are we getting down there? And they're like, we're gonna launch you. And he's like, well, we're getting parachutes, aren't we? Nope. Well then how are we supposed to land? You made the same joke 3 times. I got it. You're gonna shoot him and they don't have parachutes and he's nervous about it. Move the fuck on. Then they
Steve.
actually launched them, and the fucking Pyra literally harpoons him in the air. And the more I thought about this, I know the explanation is that she's like the prodigy, the head student.
Yes.
So of course she can do it. I still think that's a bit like if the only thing that was going to prevent him was getting hurt was your star student just happening to notice, 1, oh fuck, he might be actually in danger, and 2, her method of solving that was to literally throw a harpoon at him at fucking Mach 10 and supposedly just hit it just perfectly that she impales his shirt without any damage to it. She could have killed him. I don't care how good she is. She could have fucking
absolutely
murdered him.
could've killed
Especially
him.
because he hadn't unlocked his aura yet.
Exactly!
But she had no way of knowing that.
Nobody knew that he didn't.
Yeah,
have
everyone
that yet.
had to assume that he knew how to use his aura.
Oh.
But there's an alternate universe out there where she impales him to the tree.
And she just
runs
walks up and she's
horrified.
like, oh fuck. I almost would have, that would have been a good character moment for her, because then she would have been like the prodigy where she's like, yeah, I can do anything. So she sees her teammate who's like flying by and she's like, no worries, I'll just use my superior aim and skills and I'll harpoon his chest safely. Oh
Well,
shit, he's dead.
Steve, I hate to bring up something that happens later in the
Dan,
series.
don't.
But do you remember
Don't
what her
leave it.
do you remember what her superpower is?
It wasn't going fast, was it?
No, that's
that was
Ruby.
Ruby.
That's
Okay.
Ruby.
Then no.
Did they? Oh yeah, they did show her superpower
Yeah.
towards the
Kira's
very end.
superpower is she can control metal.
Oh, that's
she's-
right. She was like
so-
Magneto.
Yeah, so even if she had missed, all she had to do was course correct with her magnetism.
Yeah, but at the same time too, though, is like that spear hit him out of her line of sight. So like, does she just have like a spiritual connection with the piece of metal where she can like see through its eyes and like guide it manually? Like,
If you really want to nitpick,
Uh-huh.
depending upon her anime power level, perhaps she could sense the metal in his armor and approximate where his hoodie was, but that's also very fucking like reading into it.
Yeah.
And
This is also such a very tiny nitpick.
I know, but at the same time, it's like it's shit like that where it's like, yeah, it has an explanation, but it's like if you're doing that and I'm asking questions, I'm not enjoying the show. I'm just wondering why the fuck she threw a harpoon at this poor boy who was launched into the stratosphere.
Well, it's either that or let him come crashing down into the earth below and watch his organs paint half the forest.
Well, if that was if that was a danger, they shouldn't have launched them off a cliff in the first place.
Well, I mean, if he knew the danger's coming in, which he didn't, he would have been fine.
Then that's it.
That is his fault. Yes.
That's,
Well done, Steve.
That's a stupid. The only good thing about that scene was when Best Girl came on, the crazy orange-haired chick. Oh my god,
She's my favorite.
She was.
God damn it, Nora's a fucking idiot, and she doesn't need to be anything more.
Nora
She's
is
so
literally
good.
weaponized stupidity.
Yes,
I love her
100%
so
wholesale.
And like the dude's got like Uzi knives. Like that scene after they all got launched, and then there was the fight scene with the dude with the Uzi knives, and he was fighting the two-headed snakes or whatever.
Yeah.
And like that fight scene was brilliant. The whole thing where like he breaks its tooth, and then he stabs it in the eye socket, and then he like uses the power of like God and anime and like force pushes it into its brain. It's like that was tight. That was lit.
So
I got behind that 100%.
Also, it was also a way for them to visually explain how aura works.
Mm-hmm. Because up until that point, I was like, these people are getting shot with guns. Why has nobody died? And then it's like, because they all have a force field. Nice.
Yeah. And the aura itself is just an excuse to let the characters beat the shit out of each other for a while before they actually take damage, which I'm completely fine with because it makes the fight scenes that much more interesting.
Correct. Like, as long as there's an excuse for why they're not getting hurt, then it's like... It's the same thing with like Dragon Ball Z, where it's like, oh, he got punched at Mach 10, why isn't he dead? Because he has ki, which is like making him strong boy. But
and also his Saiyan biology makes him impervious to bullets.
That's why Krillin's. And that thing is like when you make rules like that, then when they get broken, like when Vegeta fought the androids and she just snaps his arm like it's nothing, then you're like, oh wow, we're in the shit now.
Yeah, because she's just that much stronger than him. I mean, we'll get to rule breaks later down the line.
Yeah.
But at least they do explain visually and you know, exposition wise what aura is, how it works. It's essentially the manifestation of your soul, which means your own power is protecting you. So when it runs out, you can actually take damage.
The thing that the way I kind of thought about it was, it's like the Force in Star Wars, where it's like, it's here, the world's kind of built around it, but don't think about it. It's just here to like make fun. It's there to, what's the word? Enable the plot to move forward. It enables all the other cool magical bullshit to expand from that. Which is
it also allows all of the characters to have a semblance, which is like their superpower. So each character who is a hunter or huntress has a semblance. So for our main four girls, Ruby has the ability to not only Noom super fast, but she also turns into like rose petals. So like she can dash in and out of this like rose petal form. Weiss has what we call glyphs, which allows her to manipulate things like gravity, time,
She's
space.
just a fucking wizard, dude.
Yeah,
She's a wizard. She's the wizard.
She has. Every time somebody comes on, is like, I'm reminded of that one Pro ZD sketch where he's like, yeah, Braddock is joining the party. He's like, my nunchuck has a sword on it and also a gun.
Blake's superpower is that she essentially has like shadow clone jutsu from Naruto, where like she can make this shadow clone that like occupies her space and time, and she can jump backwards or forwards depending on her like jump distance.
I'm trying to think.
You kind of saw it in the fight, but they didn't explicitly point it out.
I was gonna say I'm trying to remember if we actually saw her use it, and I think
we see her use it many a times. It's not so easy to detect.
Yeah, they don't call it out, so you don't always notice.
And see, I like those are cool. But like they just put little details in there, and it's like if the audience notices it, then they're like, oh, when's that gonna get explained? Or if they don't notice it, like me, then it's like it doesn't take anything away.
And then there's Yang's superpower, which is just Super Saiyan.
Rage,
it's
pure,
anger.
unadulterated anger.
It is the Babby throw a tantrum, and I am stronger now because of it.
We figure out more. Yeah, we figure out more character semblances later, but for now, the only ones we see really are the main four girls and some of the villains, but you wouldn't know it.
And I think like the bar for her getting angry is really low. Like she's in a fight and someone literally ripped out a single one of her hairs and she's like, "You deserve death."
Yeah, she has a temper.
Yes.
It is part of her character that she is fucking angry.
I just thought that was funny. Like, it's like, do you just like going at like do minor inconveniences out in public cause her to level city blocks, or is it just in a fight?
Perhaps.
Because that would be funny as shit.
That later on.
Oh god. But another thing about the exam itself is, and this is something where like, and again, I don't like to compare series, but at the same time, it's like there are ways to do shit like this well, where I'm not just like asking questions the whole time. Like if you look at the whole thing with what is it, like with My Hero Academia, where it's like their entrance exam,
the initial test.
Yeah,
yes.
like their entrance exam where like they have to fight robots, and it's like obviously that's a little bit dangerous, but the robots are also like they're a specific quantity or what's the word, factor that the teachers put in themselves, and it's like they programmed and made those robots themselves. So even though they're gonna fuck you up a little bit, they're not intended to kill people.
Correct, because it was a controlled environment.
Exactly. And they even talk about how that test has flaws, where it's like, they talked about later on, where they're like, people with quirks, where like the one dude who can control your mind, it's like he's not really good with robots, like in that specific exam. But with RWBY, it's like they're literally throwing them against monsters.
The actual monsters that they're training to fight.
Like they're the thing is, that's like they're training to fight these monsters. So you would assume they would have to get better before they're allowed to officially go out and be hunters and huntresses. Yet in the entrance exam, they're like, here's a giant two-headed snake. Here's a scorpion. These can kill you. Have fun. Also, where are the teachers?
Here's a death raven.
Yeah, there's a death raven. And where are the teachers? They're just standing on a hilltop watching it through a drone.
So this is actually one of my biggest problems with RWBY as a series.
Mm-hmm.
The Grimm do not pose a threat. Not to the huntresses, anyway. There is never a fucking point. There is one instance where I think the Grimm, maybe two, where the Grimm actually pose a threat to our heroes, but more often than not, they're basically just cannon fodder.
And I can see them setting that up where it's like they do a thing where it's like the Grimm never kill anyone, but like the humans do. So it's like, oh, the humans were the real monsters the whole time. It's like the real psychopaths were the friends we made along the way, or like shit like that. And it's like you can choose whether or not to tell me if I'm going down the right path or not. But it seems like they're kind of trending towards where like the humans are the real threats, or some shit like that. But
I don't know.
Not really.
Either way, but I don't know. My whole thing was like the test seemed a bit too gung-ho on the part of the teachers. I think that maybe if they had like maybe put smaller monsters out there, because they had
the teachers did not put those monsters out there. They just exist there.
Oh, so they literally just threw them out into the wild and they were like, have fun.
That's exactly what happened.
I think.
Yeah. No.
So this is more of a comment for Dan and for the viewers TM. They theoretically could have done this in a way that was more controlled, because we know of a character that can essentially summon fake Grimm.
Yeah, we do, but she technically does. She's not part of Veil, though.
But I'm saying they could have written a character that does a similar thing to fix that problem.
That's true.
Or they could have written her into this location or done something like that to control the actual situation.
Just any sort of
that's where you
measure.
get to the whole My Hero thing, the entrance exam. That was a much more controlled environment, and they could have done it with RWBY, but they didn't because they wanted that really fucking cool fight scene where both of the main hero teams were fighting a giant monster.
The ultimate purpose was to set up a fucking fight scene, which
is
it was fun to watch, but they still potentially could have done it a little better. I mean, because here's the thing, like, it's not I could see how someone could argue that the situation was controlled enough because the power levels of fucking Ozpin and Glinda are off the goddamn charts. So they theoretically knowing things from the future, you could be like, yeah, they could have solved any problem there. But the major flaw in that is that Ozpin apparently didn't know what John's deal was, and John very easily could have died hitting the ground.
Yeah, like fucking.
So even assuming that against the Grimm, the teacher's raw fucking power levels could have just
Would have
smited
stopped
them
it.
on sight if a child was actually in danger.
Yeah.
That doesn't account for John
Right? And like,
hitting the pavement.
and if they were gonna smite him on sight, maybe they should have been like in the forest with them, like watching, not on a
No, they were
cliffside.
just watching. Yeah,
On a
just
drone.
Or
watching
maybe
on
they
an
shouldn't
iPad.
have done it in a forest. Maybe they should have done it in a field.
Yeah, where they
they
could
could
see.
see.
Oh man, it's
Oh, man.
again like it's like you guys said. It's like it was all to set up the cool fight scenes, and I'm okay with that. But my whole thing is that if you're going to make a show that's going to be like episodic and you're going to have consistent like character building and shit like that, then you have to put more effort into making the fight scenes, one, feel earned, and two, like put them in a way where I'm not questioning like, why is this happening? I can just be like, cool, fight scene. It's like if you look at other like Harry Potter and My Hero, it's like people wanted to see the characters fight in My Hero. So what they do, they made a tournament arc. It's like, okay, it's like this is we can get behind this. Harry Potter, it's like we want to see Harry fight Malfoy, so we put him in like a dueling club, and then they fight each other. And it's like they put in, and it's all controlled too, so there's no chance of death. I was never wondering like, oh boy, maybe the school shouldn't do this, because the end results, I would hope, of most schools, even combat schools, is to keep their kids alive. I didn't see any effort on the part of the school in keeping their kids alive.
No, I believe even in Ozpin's opening speech, he implies that people might die.
Which is fun. Gotta love that.
Yeah, which is
He gives no fucks.
Not a
Which
single
I guess
fuck
is the
was
point.
given.
I guess that's intentional that he doesn't give a single fuck.
yeah, but
But
it's if that's what they wanted to do, I feel like they could have. That's what like as the show. Well, I'll bring this up more as it goes on, but like the whole show seems like it's one of those things where it's like they wanted a thing to happen, so they just made it happen, and they didn't really think about logically how in universe how that thing happening would come about. They were just like, we want to see this kid fight a giant snake, ergo here's a giant snake and he fought it. Or it's like, we want Ruby and what's her face to team up, so we're just gonna throw them in and they team up. And it's like they basically were like, we want this to happen, so it's happening. And that was basically my biggest gripe.
Yeah, the whole entrance exam or initiation test was just a way to get both Team Ruby and Team Juniper together. Team Ruby being Ruby, Weiss, Blake, and Yang, and Team Juniper being Jean, Nora, Pyrrha, and Ren. Those are basically the two sets of main characters in the show, and you could have very easily changed the initiation exam to make it make more sense. It could have even been a tournament.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Like that would have been cool. Like maybe make the kids like fight themselves, and because they show that happening later, where like they show John on stage fighting like his big bully boy, and he gets his ass handed to him, and so it's like they have that capability where like the kids could be in combat with each other, and you don't have to throw them out against monsters, like fucking. It's very because it's very. I think the thing that's irking me is that they're going to school to learn how to fight these monsters, but then the show shows very early on they can already fight these monsters. So like, why aren't they just going out and fighting monsters? And it's like that little cognitive dissonance is like it's the entire like it's gonna be in the back of my mind and it's gonna bother me. But again,
now,
the fight scenes are cool, so I don't care. But
which part of the story do you want to talk about next? Do you actually want to cover the bully arc, and including the I don't know if I want to be a leader arc as well, or do you want to get right into the meat of the end of season 1?
Oh, you mean the controversial shit? We're gonna build up to that, but
All right. So what
Oh
happens?
God.
What happens immediately after the teams are chosen is
Yep.
that RWBY and Jean. Jean does not feel like he could be a leader,
he shouldn't
and
be.
he shouldn't be.
Neither should Ruby. Neither of
No,
them should be their team leaders. I know, like
no.
because I know. Remember, you said that like Ruby was the one who came up with the plan to like kill the Raven and the Scorpion,
Yeah.
and it's like
Well, to at least kill the Nevermore
oh yeah, because she chopped its head off with the that was
with the
cool.
scythe.
But it's like no, she shouldn't actually. I don't. I think she could be like maybe like the lead combat specialist, like that. That could be a role for her, but I don't think she should be like the emotional support as the leader. And I honestly waited for them to do something like again I keep coming back to it because it's a better show, but it's My Hero where like when Midoriya got voted as like the class rep, but then Tenya
Tenya was
like showed that he was immeasurably better suited for the job. So like eventually it's everyone's like okay he's obvious like even though we voted it's like he's the best man for the job, but the school was just like no you're the leader. So get fucked.
Yeah, I think Ozpin picks who the leaders are.
Yeah,
He picks
he does.
Ruby and Jean for those two teams.
Which
There is a reason why Ruby is the leader. It doesn't get explained till later.
Yeah, because
but there is a reason.
She has a connection like to Ozpin, or like
It's
her
not
grandpa.
even that. It's not even that.
It's not even that. That wasn't
it's
well,
not
I'd say I think it's kind of related to that, but it's also something unique.
okay.
If that makes any sense, that's almost more of a comment for the viewers than it is for anyone else.
Because then like because Vice was pissed that she wasn't, and
Yeah.
at the
Yeah, and
beginning,
I kind of get it. Like she is stuck up, but
Mhm.
like I feel like it would have actually made more sense with her established character if she was the one who planned shit. Because they showed her trying to do combat with Ruby and how she was like elaborately planning how to do it in her head.
and then Ruby
and Ruby
fucked it
yeets
up.
in there. But that's almost just a side note of like I think if anything, Weiss should have been the one who made the Nevermore plan because that's what they showed. But that's a nitpick. It's whatever.
Well, because I think what they're trying to explain there is that Weiss is better at thinking ahead, whereas Ruby's better at improvising in the moment, which would have been fine to do, but they needed a better explanation, or at least a better visual explanation of that.
And even just going
Basically, show us.
Yeah, and even going off that, it's like you would want your leader to not just make shit up as they go. Like you would want to have like a combat specialist who like if like they'll have the leader who makes the plan ahead of time, and then if shit goes off the rails, then you throw in Ruby as the trump card and be like, all right, kid, go get him.
Well, the thing is, you're ignoring two other glaring details in that what the fuck are Blake and Yang doing? Because they don't speak pretty much in all of these, like,
Combat
aside
encounters?
from Yang.
Yeah.
Aside from Yang making, like, comments at the Nevermore when she's shooting shotgun shells down its throat.
That was amazing. That's like those moments of like those combat moments where like she's literally standing in the bird's mouth holding its beak open and then just shooting shotgun fists into its uvula. Like that was hot. That was fucking amazing. And it's
I wish they modeled
Steve, she's
abs.
16.
I wish they.
I meant hot as in like the
regardless,
actual fucking
I was gonna comment though that I do wish that they modeled abs for Yang because Yang deserves abs. But
Well, okay, so this is one of the things that becomes a bigger problem later on. Team RWBY barely feels like a full team. It feels like you have Ruby and Weiss and Blake and Yang. They do not feel very much like a cohesive unit outside of that, that team coordinated encounter between them. Now, in the earlier seasons, we do get more of it, but when you get to the later seasons, that it basically becomes they pair off and they stop acting like a team. In the early seasons, it's much better, but I think Juniper is a much better coordinated team when they're fighting that Scorpion. Aside from Ren, who just gets yeeted off into a fucking pillar, poor guy.
Poor guy.
But John is at least coordinating with Nora and Pyrrha to exploit the weaknesses of that Deathstalker, which is the giant scorpion,
Mm-hmm.
and utilize each of their advantages. So to an extent, Jean is an idiot, but at least he has a way of thinking ahead and coming up with a plan to exploit weaknesses.
Yeah.
So he can grow into a leader is the thing.
He almost seems like he's drawing a lot of parallels to, like, because there's the trope of, like, the character who's, like, not physically strong, but they're smart. He's basically like the Armin of their group, but it's like also, speaking of that fight, like, Nora actually, like, I know she's like a fucking idiot, but they actually showed too where, like, that's why she's my favorite character now, because, like, they show she's a fucking insane lunatic who should not be unsupervised at all. But at the same time, like, when they're actually in a fight, it's like, yeah, she's like doing it all crazy. She gets shit done.
Well,
Yeah,
that's why Ren's there. He's the supervisor.
Yeah, and he's like, even their team has more of a team dynamic than Ruby's team has, where it's like John is the like the leader, Nora is the fucking crazy go balls deep with a grenade launcher, and then Ren's like, yo girl, slow it down, and she's like, no, but okay.
and Pyrrha is the
Pyrrha's the prodigy.
secret weapon.
Yeah, Pyrrha's like she's like their trump card. Really, Nora's like uncalculated aggression. Pyrrha is like surgical precision, like with her spear.
Yeah.
She has a javelin, which is also a spear, which is also like a gladius, which is also a gun.
Everything's. I want to make one of those moon memes where it's like, wait, it's all guns. Always has been.
Always has been. Okay, so I think we've talked about the initiation for long enough.
Yes. Moving on to the. Okay, so actually
the bully arc, or
I think the bully arc. What was that next, or did they go to class first?
Well, they went to class first. I mean, we had the visual gags in the room where they were decorating the room, and then they were late to class and all that. But which was cute.
Yeah, that was a fun scene. Like, I like those little slice of life bits, like, in the action shows, because it lets you actually, like, see the characters characterize themselves. Where it's like, But also, speaking of the classroom scene, they actually just, from an educational standpoint, I don't think you should, when your practical is combat, I don't think you should have a fight in the class. Like, the dude just pulls out a boar, and he's like, okay, Vice, fight it. And
the weird thing is, all of these classrooms are set up like 18th century medical schools.
Yeah, where it's like a big lecture hall at a fucking Harvard or some shit, where like they sit down. It's like specifically for just like academic learning, where like you're taking notes on shit. But like, the dude just pulls out a boar.
It's stylistic and kind of cool because like that aesthetic is kind of neat for an academic setting.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a combat school, I would have expected more field work.
Yeah, or it's like, if you're gonna do combat field work, don't do it in the classroom. Like when I was in fire science, they didn't, like, when we worked with hoses, we had to go to a special off-site location to do like practical shit. They didn't just pull out a fire hose and be like, all right, you're gonna hit that wall until all the paint peels off. All right, cool. Turn to page 27.
Because like, I hate to bring these two up as like more examples again, but again, in Attack on Titan or My Hero Academia, they're technically also in a combat school.
Yeah.
And like, we see the classroom setting certainly, but a lot of the time they're in different training areas where they're practicing their skills and whatnot.
Nobody pulled out their ODM gear during the academic learning portions of Attack on Titan, because that would have disrupted the learning environment. I'll bet they had to check. They don't think any of them were actually wearing ODM gear in the classroom, and yet these kids are allowed to bring guns into a lecture hall. Now,
again, that might just be budget limitations as well, in that they couldn't budget another, like, to render an entire other location for the field work. Because when Weiss is fighting that boar, if you notice, she, like, one scene she's wearing her school uniform, and then immediately you cut to her wearing her combat uniform.
Yeah.
And fighting the boar.
It's like, a lot of it could be explained away by budget, but at the same time, it's like, the budget keeps becoming a problem. And there's ways to work, like, they've obviously shown they can work around budgets, like, so that they can animate these big fucking fight scenes. And I think they just kind of, again, like, going off context of who the people are who created the show, They very obviously wanted to animate fight scenes, but I think they didn't either weren't able or weren't willing to put in the effort in the connecting scenes, where it's like because I like say like for a story I was writing, like I really wanted to get to this like big confrontation between like a dude and his partner, like a police precinct, but it's like to get to there, I had to have all this other character building shit that actually led up to the fun stuff that was actually fun to write. Because it's like writing is fucking boring sometimes, where like you have to actually put in the work to lay the groundwork for how these character interactions set up. So it's like when you actually write the character interactions, it's fun as hell, but you have to do a lot of legwork to actually get there. And RWBY just doesn't seem like it's putting in the legwork at this time. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I was gonna say, where do you go from there? That was so succinct. I mean, I said this while we were doing the watch party for this.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite new line for the show comes from Weiss when they're in the initiation, and RWBY darts in out of nowhere and explains how fast she is. Weiss goes, "For someone who is so fast, you are incredibly good at wasting time."
Oh man,
that is RWBY to a T.
You picked up on that immediately. You were like, "Oh my god, this is her."
Because the problem is, right now the episodes are very short.
Mm-hmm.
They are very short because it was probably much more expensive for them to animate it at the time, and they were just trying to get to the cool fight scenes.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that.
It was basically a web series.
Yes. It was basically a web series because in 2013, Rooster Teeth was not the powerhouse that they are today.
No.
But Rooster Teeth has had all sorts of problems in the past year and a half. We won't even go into that. So it's perfectly fine. But nowadays, the episodes max out at like 13 minutes. A standard anime is like 22 minutes long, like for an episode. And there's only 13 episodes in a season. At least nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So they're running at generally the same length of episodes that an anime season is, like 13. But they're running it at half the episode length.
Mm-hmm.
And even then they find a way to just putz around in the story.
Oh man. Yeah, like speaking of season 1, because we've been kind of tiptoeing around it, but the bully arc was
atrocious.
Yeah, I wanted to. I was gonna say it, but I was like, I've shit on Dan's favorite show so much today. Maybe I should be nice, but
it's not my favorite show. How
thank God.
Fucking dare you? How dare you,
Maybe
sir?
Favorite show was too. You like the show, Dan. I felt bad about shitting on it, but gloves are off now.
Don't feel bad, because I shit on this show on the reg, so much so that my friend group is like, why the fuck are you still watching this show? Why do you continue to watch it?
Because you love it, and we shit on the things we love because we care, and we want to see them be better.
Yeah.
The bully arc is bad.
It's bad. It's like the whole... I think it's not even because... So the whole show is basically using a lot of tropes and cliches to move the story forward, which is fine, because there's... In the whole span of like human consciousness, it's like there's a limited number of ideas that people are able to have, so eventually they're going to repeat themselves. And it's all about just how you actually execute those ideas. And the bully arc was not executed well. So it starts off where it's like the whole reason, this was fucking hilarious too, was that like Pyrrha brings up John to the rooftop and she's like, we're going to do some extra practice. And he's like, what are you saying? I suck? And it's like, yes, John.
Well, no. Hang on. You're skipping one incredible joke.
Oh, God.
Where she brings it, because Jean is feeling really sad because, he gets bullied by Cardin. Cardin beats the shit out of him in class. And secretly, Jean is a liar. He did not get into Beacon truthfully. He lied about his test. We never really understand how there's a written test to get into combat school, but he never went to a combat school.
He found some transcripts.
And then
he just got it.
but he's really depressed about this because he knows, but none of his other teammates know.
Mhm.
And Pyrrha brings him up to this rooftop under the guise that she's going to train him at night to make him a better fighter.
Mhm.
The minute he gets up there, he looks over the edge and is like, well, Pyrrha, I'm not that depressed.
I forgot about
They
that.
did a fucking suicide
Oh my
joke in
God.
RWBY.
Like, that was
Yeah.
amazing. He's like, hey,
Good
John,
shit.
I know you're feeling down. I got something that's going to cheer you up. Bro, I'm fine. Like, Jesus.
Yeet
I'm not that
yourself
bad.
over this cliff.
Kill
But yeah,
yourself. Oh, yeah.
In this scene, Jean explains that he lied to get in. He found transcripts. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
How do you find transcripts for a combat school? What does
Again,
that mean?
Again, I think it's one of those things where the writers were like, we want to have John get into this school illegitimately, and that'll be a character point. But they didn't really put in the effort to like write how he did that and make it realistic. They were just like, he found some transcripts and he got in. Shut up. And then we went on.
But yeah, he explains all that. Pyrrha runs off, and Cardin just hops up from under this ledge.
Oh my
He
god.
he scutters up the wall like Dracula, and he emerges.
He just pops his, because they're like 3 stories up, aren't they? So he's just like, what you guys doing up here? Huh? What's
Technically
going on?
speaking, just so no one in the comments whips out their keyboard and becomes a true keyboard warrior, you do see him in the shot when, like, Pyrrha and John are talking. He's on the top floor poking his head out the window. But
It's still
it's
really
not
funny how
cleared, and it's really fucking funny.
he just yeets himself up the ledge.
Oh my
Yes.
god. It was
And does the
amazing.
classic bully trope of, oh, now I know your secret. If you don't do all my extra homework for me, I'm going to expose you. And then he
Yeah.
just scuttles back down.
Yep,
Goes back into his...
perfection.
Crawls under the
Why
rock
is my
he
phone
was
so
sleeping
angry?
under.
Shut up. Sorry.
No, it's fine. But, and then didn't they have, like, a, also, because then immediately after that, they have another, like, practical thing out in the forest,
Yes.
which, this may have just been me being stupid and not paying attention, but, like, why did they need sap?
Never explained.
Cool, okay.
It was
So it
for
wasn't
some.
just me.
It was for some kind of field trip lesson. It was for this Professor Peach, who we'd never see. Glinda goes in her stead because they have the character model for Glinda Goodwitch. They don't have one for Professor Peach. And they're just going out into the forest to become. They're gonna go make some maple syrup.
Oh god. See, there was also, I gotta say, the one good thing this show did was it had an absolutely beautiful use of Chekhov's gun. But it was so ridiculous because, like, in the scene before they go out, he gets a call from what was the bully's name?
Cardin.
Cardin. Yeah, he's like, "Hey, bro, I need you to get me a whole box of bees." And I'm just like, did I hear him right? Like, he wants bees, or like,
Yep.
they're like special angry like attack bees or something. Okay, and then
Grim bees.
they're out there, and he's like getting all the sap for like Cardin and his buddies, and they're like, "Thanks, John. By the way, we got a surprise for you." Because John's like, well, how come there's only 5 of us, but you made me get 6 jars of sap? And he's like, oh, we got a surprise, and they're on a hilltop. And then he pulls out the box of bees, and it's like, that's what that was for. And then he's looking at
Pyrrha.
Pyrrha, yeah. And why did he hate Pyrrha, by the way?
Because in one of the classes with Professor Oobleck, who you said was on speed,
Oh, that guy.
she humiliated him in class because Cardin's a fucking dumbass jock who doesn't know anything and is racist towards Faunus people.
That's
Faunus,
right.
by the way, god damn it, how did we skip that?
Oh, fuck.
We'll save that for last, I
Yeah,
think.
because that's...
Wait until we're done with the bully arc.
Oh god! But then yeah, then
'Cause-
he pulls out the bees, and then he's like, "You're gonna do it." And then he's like, "No!" And then he throws them at Cardin,
Cardin.
and then they start kicking the shit
gets
out
him
of
all
him.
sticky.
And then
Then a giant bear shows up.
yeah, called an Ursa.
Well, yeah, Ursa just means bear.
I know. Just like the hammer meat nail, just like it
Yep.
looks like a bear. Let's call it a bear. Anyway.
Well, the
So-
wolves are called Beowulfs.
Yeah, that's like, I'm
Like
okay.
all the Grimm have cute little names, like
Mhm.
Beowulf, Ursa, Nevermore, Deathstalker, all that
Yeah.
kind of shit.
Which is okay. I mean, it's no like nice little just kind of references, but yeah. Then apparently, so I think I got this because like then John fights it. And he finds this power of friendship in anime, and he fights off the bear. And then so did Pyrrha like give his sword extra power, and that's why he was
No,
able to
what
kill
she
it?
did was he was gonna get his head taken off by this Ursa because he doesn't know how to block properly.
Hmm.
So what Pyrrha did is she used her magnetism powers to raise his shield so that he could parry the Ursa paw,
Oh,
and then he
okay.
could come back and swing with the blade.
He was essentially trying to parry, but his positioning was off, so she corrected his positioning.
Okay, and that's like, and that was how we found out about her magnetism powers.
He didn't
Yes.
find out. Everyone else did.
Yeah.
Well, Ruby and Weiss did.
Yes,
They're the
sorry.
only two that know.
So no one else knows like what would they not like test what their powers are?
I think the teachers presumably know what all of their power sets are. It's
Okay.
probably on the application.
It's the
but-
students who don't all know.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they ask like, "Yo, bro, what's your power?" It's like I'm fast.
I don't know.
as
They
fuck,
probably
boy."
would in a real life setting, but
Because
they
it's
don't.
Ruby.
For
Well,
some
in a real life setting, part of the initiation or part of the entrance exam would have been about showing off their semblances.
Yeah, like with again, with my hero. What's your quirk? I punch stuff. Beautiful, you're in. What's yours? It's like I control minds. It's like back of the class, nerd.
Even though that power would be like incredibly useful.
Bro, yeah, I'm only on. I think I'm on near the end of season 3, but like I at least I saw promotional art for season 5, and it looks like that exact guy is like coming more into the foreground. So excited
Tight.
for that.
All right.
But
Off topic.
yeah.
Completely off topic.
Anyway, so after they fight the bear, and then John has like new self-confidence.
He apologizes to Pyrrha, and they're going to train more. They're going to get closer and closer and form that lovely, lovely romance. Also, Steve, do you know who Jean is based off of?
I'm gonna say no.
Steve, his name is Jean d'Arc. Or Jean Arc.
Oh,
Yeah, his name is Jean Arc. He's based off of Jean d'Arc, the famous French soldier. Can you guess who any of the other in Team Juniper are based off of?
I will say
Um,
they're all gender bent.
Yes, they are
Oh,
all
okay.
gender bent. So John is a gender bent Jean Arc.
what was Nora? What's her last name?
Her
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie. Think about what she uses as a weapon.
Don't look her up. Don't look them up by
you
name.
fucker.
No, like literally don't, because you're probably going to find spoilers if
Okay.
you start looking
That's
up.
also true.
characters.
Yes, yeah. If you
I
look
didn't
up
see
certain
anything.
characters, you will get spoilers.
It's
Her
like
name
with-
is Nora Valkyrie, and she uses a giant fuck off hammer.
I don't think I'm familiar with that story.
She is based off of Thor.
The original Thor is
Oh.
redhead, like the way
Yes.
he's portrayed in myths.
Okay.
We don't know her semblance yet, but if you knew, it would have been infinitely
Very-
easier
well,
to guess.
her symbol is a hammer with a lightning bolt through it.
Okay, that's
And then Ren, his name is Lai Ren. He is based off of Fa Mulan, at least to our best knowledge.
nice.
And then Pyrrha Nikos is based off of Achilles
Oh, with the spear and all that. Okay.
and
I gotcha.
the Gladius sword. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, actually, not really a Gladius. It's a Greek leaf blade.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
she is very, very Greek inspired.
Yeah, her armor. She's basically an Amazon.
Yeah, I think I said that. I was like, "Oh, Amazonian goddess coming through."
She fights in high heels, and that's already impressive.
Pretty lit. Yeah, that's you can work with that. Trying to think what happened after that. So then, was that when they
Well-
all like were going into town?
Yeah,
And
that's
then-
when they go into town and they meet the most on the nose character, Sun Wukong.
Oh man, I was.
So for any of you who are not in the know,
Uh,
almost all of the big three shonen protagonists, at the very least, Goku, Luffy, and to a lesser extent Naruto,
yeah.
are based off of this very famous mythological character
Mhm.
in Chinese mythology called Sun Wukong, aka the Monkey King, aka the main character of the story Journey to the West.
Mhm.
Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, is a kind of fun-loving, jovial, very childlike mythical creature who is basically an anthropomorphic monkey who wields a magic staff and has all these wacky adventures.
Mhm.
Sun Wukong in the show is basically that to a T, right down to even having a fucking red and gold bow staff weapon,
Yeah.
which also has the most hype transformation of all of the
Oh, bro,
weapons.
when it becomes a fucking nunchuck and then a gun.
It's basically it's like four flintlock pistols that are two of them become nunchucks that he forms into a staff.
God, see, that's honestly, I think that's my favorite part of Ruby is just the weapon design in general. Like the
The
whole
weapon designs are
ah,
very cool.
like the whole scythe turning into a sniper rifle, that's cool. The hammer that turns into a grenade launcher, which also thematically kind of works with Nora's fighting style. Like that's she basically like she doesn't use subtlety. She either blows it up or she smashes it because she's best girl.
Well,
Yes.
that is kind of what I like about the earlier seasons of Ruby is that all of the weapons kind of match both the fighting style and the personality of the characters.
Mhm.
Um,
So it's like
Ruby,
anything.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna
Oh, go ahead. Go
just
ahead.
like anything related to fighting. It's like they got it right. It's just all the non-fighting shit that they fucked
Wow.
up.
Yeah. So they meet Sun Wukong, who is a stowaway on a ship because later on they have what's called the Vital Festival, which is this big festival of all the major schools in the world. They come to one of the countries. They come to one of the big four main academies on one of the four continents,
Hmm.
and they have this big festival that also has a tournament for all the students.
Nice.
So this is the starting bit of everybody coming to Vale for the tournament. Sun Wukong was a stowaway on a ship from another country called Vacuo, or another continent called Vacuo. And the police are investigating more robberies from the dust shop,
Mhm.
basically Roman Torchwick stealing more dust. And Weiss and Blake get into a bit of an argument, and I'm going to
Oh.
let Krista and Steve duke it out on this one
Why are we duking it out?
because we're at the point of the White Fang discussions.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I think we agree for the most part. My whole thing is just like, so okay, so the girl who has been having like wearing a bow that looks like cat ears, turns out she's a cat girl. Who would have
Yes.
thunk it? And it's and so the whole thing is apparently this is where like the way they communicated this, I was like I had to go back and rewatch it to actually like understand what the fuck they were actually saying, but it was apparently like it was some they brought up something about like the faun they call it the faunas.
The
Faunus.
faunus.
Yeah, and about how like there's like like supposedly terrorist groups who are like committing violence against regular people, and then Vice is like
Her name is Weiss, by the way.
Well,
Not
it's German,
Weiss.
so it's Vice.
The
I'm-
German pronunciation.
Well, I mean,
is
they
Weiss,
pronounce
but
it Weiss.
I'm calling
in
her
the show.
Vice. And
I'm just saying because people are going to fucking rage at you just for pronouncing it differently.
yeah, fine.
I can
That will
feel it
happen.
in my soul.
Snow
Snow
White,
White.
says that also she's like they're terrorists and they're all criminals. But then she also drops the bomb that like we may be using them as illegitimate, possibly not really slave labor in the mines.
Yeah.
So it's like they might have a bit of a few grievances, and it's and then the way they actually, because obviously like I didn't realize it, but if you watch the character trailer, you know that Blake was like working with the rebel faunas, and
one of the leaders, yeah, that guy who has the katana, the guy who basically slaughtered that big spider robot.
uh-huh.
He is one of the leaders of the current White Fang.
Yeah, and then like Yeah, and then the way Blake outs herself is so fucking stupid. Because then Weiss is like, she's like, how can you support these terrorists? And then Blake's like, maybe we were just tired of getting pushed around. Oops.
Where did you learn to do this? I learned it from watching you.
Oops, I did a fucky wucky and outed myself as a terrorist. Whoopsies. Oops. I'm sorry, freedom fighters. Ugh, fucking... I don't know. And they're very clearly drawing a... They were very, like, with the whole, like, we started off with peaceful protests, and then somebody radical got in power, and now we're violence. And they're very clearly making a very tenuous allegory between that and the civil rights movement. And the reason that pissed me off is because given the previous writing chops on display of this writing team, I do not think they are good enough writers to tackle the subject of civil rights allegories.
Yeah.
Because
no, they're not.
Hard
They're
agree
not.
there.
yeah, it's because like, when you tackle shit like that, it's like you have to be fucking careful because, and this probably wasn't what they intended, but there were points where like they were doing the whole thing. It's like I was fine when they were peacefully protesting, but as soon as they started getting violent, now I don't agree with it. They basically told the fauna to stop being so uppity. And it's like when she brings up the thing where like we may be using them as potentially like forced labor in the mines, and then they kind of like, so now she doesn't have a leg to stand on. So it's like I cannot tell who the show is trying to make me root for.
Nobody. That's the thing. Nobody is correct in that argument. The whole Schnee Dust Company versus the White Fang, the current White Fang, I'll say. There is a previous White Fang that we'll meet later. There is no good guy in that story, and that can be interesting.
Yeah.
But both sides have to have an argument, and the thing is, neither side has an argument.
Because like if you argue for, I basically don't want to support either of them, because like if you argue in favor of the fauna and you say like what they're doing now is like you're basically arguing that either one, you're like in favor of them committing terrorism, but at the same time if you argue against that, then you're also kind of saying that like, I don't know, it's a very slippery slope where, because the fauna are being treated as second-class citizens.
Yes.
And it seems like the show is basically saying this is the wrong way to go about becoming equals. And it's like, that's a whole other philosophical discussion about whether or not you can peacefully overthrow your oppressors without violence at all.
But there is a better, there are so many better ways to have that discussion.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You could still have both sides be assholes.
Oh,
you
yeah.
could very easily still have. One of my pet projects for RWBY is rewriting the whole White Fang plot.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of potential there in what you can do with that storyline, and not fuck it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole I don't like, again, it's like you said, there were so many better ways to have that discussion. But the way I think RWBY's like the way they're trying to write it, I don't even know what they're trying to say with it. They're basically saying like terrorism bad, but also slavery bad, but also like, you know, shouldn't be they're very wishy-washy about how they want to. Maybe it gets better in the later seasons and they actually start like fleshing out the this whole conflict, but I don't know. I almost I don't. Oh god.
Oh, you poor naive
I'm
fool.
afraid. Now I'm afraid. Oh god. Because my whole biggest thing is, maybe this is just me, but I feel like if you're using, because they take very care, they take great care to avoid saying we are using the fauna as slave labor, because once you do that, then it's like you're either in favor of slavery or you're not, and it's like,
just you wait, Steve.
oh god,
just
does it
you
get
wait.
worse? Oh. Oh man. So bottom line of that whole part of the arc was that like RWBY should not try to tackle civil rights allegories, but they're gonna.
No, not in the slightest. Yeah,
And
not in
it's
the
gonna
slightest.
be fun. And then at the end, I can't remember.
Well, the show. Well, we meet another character. We meet one more character before the end of the series. We meet Penny.
Uh-huh.
Now, you were very confused with Penny when we were watching it, and I know you said you went back and watched the show again. Do you have a new opinion on Penny?
I think Penny is. She also was another factor in blowing the power levels right out of the fucking water, because
Yep.
after the whole civil rights thing, then we get to the point where also, by the way, that one scene where the who's the redheaded dude, the villain boy,
Roman.
Roman, yeah.
Roman.
There's a scene where like just a quick screenshot of like him staring at the whiteboard, and it's like he's got all these funny labels where it's like the goods, it's like cops, dumb cops.
Because Roman's the best villain.
Oh
Roman
man,
is hands down. He is hands down one of my favorite characters.
it's
Because he actually has a personality, and you can follow his line of reasoning from beginning to end when we start to learn more about him.
yeah. At the very least, he's like the only real antagonistic force that. Do we ever find out what he actually wants? Because like
Yes.
okay, like,
Kind of.
from what I've seen is that like it's just he's robbing dust shops to accumulate dust and like become basically building up an arms stockpile.
That's essentially what he's doing. The why comes a little bit later.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that they didn't say why and I just fucking missed it like an idiot. But
No. We haven't gotten too deep into Roman's motivations yet. That comes more in season 2 and 3.
Okay, but yeah, to go on to your question about what's her face? Penny, yeah. She I did like the one interaction where she meets Ruby and she's like, "Oh, we should go hang out and try on clothes and talk about boys." And Ruby was like, "Oh my god, was I this annoying?"
Yeah, because that was a call. That was a callback joke
Exactly.
to like, the second episode.
But no, I think she's an okay character to like. She like obviously she introduces new wrinkles, fuck. But I know back at the beginning where like when like Ruby was chasing the dude onto his helicopter after he had stolen the first shop, and then the teacher shows up and she starts like throwing rocks at it and like trying to like they can't put a dent on it, and then this girl shows up and just slices it in half
With lasers.
with no effort whatsoever. And the thing is, like, I don't know if that was just because she had lasers and everybody else was using rocks, or if it's just
So-
because, like, on a pure power scale, she's so much above everybody else that she can't be touched.
Would you like a spoiler? Steve?
No, don't spoil.
I'm wondering if Steve would like a spoiler.
Dan?
I'm gonna say for now, hold on. If this comes
Okay.
up again in season 2,
Well, it actually gets explained in season 2.
okay, then let's wait for season 2,
All right.
and I'll.
All right.
That's why I want you to wait, Dan.
Okay,
because
if it's that close, I'll find out. But
All right.
the other thing again, then we get to the fight scene again. We've gone a very long time without a fight scene at this point, and by
Kind
that,
of, yeah.
like it just felt like a shitty fever dream that I couldn't wake up. It's like when you have a nightmare about going to school, and it's not even like you go to school and like it gets set on fire or giant spiders invade. It's like you go to school and the teacher calls on you, and then you can't answer the question. Everyone's just kind of silently like, "Why the fuck didn't you answer that easy question?" Like that level of discomfort is what I've been feeling since the last fight scene, where I'm just like, just get it over with. Just let me wake up from this fucking nightmare. And then a fight scene happens, and it's all good.
Yeah, because it's a really good fight scene at the
It
end.
is. It's such a.
The finale of season 1 is a really good fight scene because not only do you get a cool fight scene between Blake and Sun versus like the White Fang members and Roman, who actually is a pretty decent fighter.
Yeah.
You also get, Penny coming out and just absolutely decimating with her Aurelia blades.
Yeah, and just like what we thought the skill ceiling was, has been absolutely shattered, and now
This will happen many a times.
Oh god. And I'm okay with that because like, obviously you need to. It's the same thing with like in game design. It's like power creep, and it happens a lot in shonen anime, especially because like you obviously need to, as the main character gets stronger, you need to keep upping the stakes. But
Yeah, but this becomes Dragon Ball Super levels of power creep.
oh god, fucking.
Uh,
So do they just become gods at the end?
I,
Oh no.
I want to tell you so many
Oh
things.
god.
I must tell you so many things, Steve, but I cannot because you must experience these things for yourself and
Yeah.
feel the pain I do
Oh god.
every day. I know
Jeez.
that this show exists.
What I'm really scared of is like by the end of this, the show's gonna grow on me. I don't
It
think
will.
I'm
That's the
emotionally
problem.
ready for
That's the fucking problem. Is
Uh.
that I am so invested because there is that sliver of potential that this show has that got me hooked
Yeah.
when I was first watching it with my friends and watching a hype as fuck tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I was having fun watching this show, and now at the end of season 7, I am not having fun. Also, that dates when this is coming out. Yes, season 7 ended last year, and season 8 is about to come out.
Okay.
I was having so much fun in the early seasons, and now it hurts me every time I watch it.
Oh man. Yeah, because I think like to complement the show, again, the things they do well are the fight scenes. And the reason,
music.
yeah, and the music. Oh god, the music is tight. But it's like
Yeah.
the reason why I think the fight scenes work so well is because they do a. Did you guys ever see Daredevil or Iron Fist?
Yeah, I love those shows. I don't
Okay.
care what anyone says.
Yeah, it's like the thing is that it's the difference between those two shows and their fight scenes. Where like if you look at Daredevil, like you know that that very early on fight scene where like he's in the like that long continuous hallway shot where he's just
Yeah.
like taking down the dudes. It's like in fight choreography, it's like cuts are almost like the enemy of a good fight scene because like as soon as that's how you can tell good choreography from bad choreography, and it's why I didn't get into Iron Fist was because like Iron Fist relies a lot more on like just jump cuts everywhere to make you think fights are happening and it's exciting, and it's like in Daredevil and RWBY, it's like you can logically follow the progression of the fight and you can see each move, and the choreography is like really creative too. Like when he actually like the bow staff guy Wukong, when he
Yeah.
reveals like his actual trick weapon, and it's like nunchucks with guns on the end of them, and like how that like how the other dude has to like respond to that and like block those attacks while also counterattacking with his thing. It's like you can follow the fights along a path of progression, and you can understand what's happening. And it's not like you understand the fight tells a story. It's not just people are fighting. It's I'm trying to figure out how to word it, but basically it's like the fights are
Well, the fights
linear.
themselves are a narrative.
Yes,
You can
it's-
watch the fights
exactly.
by themselves and understand that there is a story being told through the
Mhm.
fights. And that is early Ruby's biggest strength, is
Yep.
that the fights tell an interesting story.
I don't know. My biggest gripes with the show are like not like the fight scenes themselves, but just the fact that each fight scene is it looks cool as hell and I'm entertained by it, but they really lack, at least now, the closest thing they had to like an emotional connection to the fight was like when Blake was fighting the other guy, where it's because like the fact that
Roman, you mean?
yeah, Roman, where it's like she's
Okay.
like a member of she's like an ex-member of this group that's apparently like doing terrorist shit now. And so like that she has that connection. So all of a sudden the fight has more context than like just about any other fight before that, where it's like you can actually like have an emotional back and forth and you can see the fight has a reason. It's not just happening because it's a cool fight scene. It's happening like because of how these two characters actually are and the steps they took to get to this point. It's the same thing with like it's why I enjoy fight scenes in One Piece almost more than I enjoyed some of these fight scenes, because in One Piece the one thing that Oda does that a lot of other authors are pretty much they try to emulate is that he makes every fight, even if the fight is not technically a visual spectacle, the fight has meaning, and you know why people are fighting, you know the stakes of what happens when one of them loses the fight. So even if the fight itself is not visually as cool or entertaining as other fights, it's like you feel an emotional connection to each fight. And RWBY almost does the opposite.
Well, we've been ranting for about 2-ish hours now.
Oh
Do
my
we
God,
want to
you're
wrap
right.
up the Do we want to wrap up the main thing and go right to the tier list of characters for the first season, or do we want to talk a little bit about the ending of the first season?
Krista, you've been quiet. What's your stance?
Um, it's not going to help, but I'm down for pretty much either.
God damn! All
You
right.
yell at me when I say this shit in League.
I know.
Steve, you want to do an ARM or a 5v5? Up to you. Shit.
Well, I mean, we can quickly go over the ending because not a whole lot happens. But after that fight, Weiss and Blake, they make up, kind of.
Yeah,
Um,
and I feel like
Weiss
they shouldn't
goes.
have.
No, I mean, there should have been more to it, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Weiss essentially goes, "Next time you have a problem, just come talk to us," and that's a sweet sentiment.
Yeah, like Weiss she's growing as a character, and she's still got like that kind of uppity rich girl attitude, but she's slowly, you can see
Turning
the
into a
character arc.
person.
Exactly,
Yes.
she's becoming a human being.
That's still ignoring the fact that Blake was a terrorist, but
Yeah, I feel like she's not gonna face any consequences for that.
Yes and no. All right,
Oh god. Okay.
to the tier list.
Yes.
Oh
Okay.
boy.
So character
Do
tier
you want to
list.
stream it first while you put it together,
You
Steve?
know what, let me
I
do that.
linked one in the chat that I just fucking put together because too many of the other ones had
Oh,
spoiler
shit.
details.
There we go. So, firstly, best
Yeah,
girl
first up is Adam.
going in S
Oh,
tier.
so Nora's going in S
Good.
tier.
Nora is
I
going
agree
in
with
fucking
that.
S tier.
Strongly agree.
Okay.
I agree with that.
All right. Trying to think. Does anyone else really belong in? I don't think anyone else belongs in S tier.
Strongly agree.
Yeah.
Um,
At least at this moment in time.
maybe Pyrrha.
I don't even think she's S tier. Like I don't feel Nora is the only character where whenever she comes on screen, I have a good time no matter what's happening. I don't give a fuck
That's
about
fair.
the plot. I just want to see her do more things.
I want to see her break more people's legs.
She has two modes. It's horny and stupid.
And I fucking relate. I
Oh,
love her
God.
so much. She just wants Ren's penis and to break everything and to eat food. And god damn it.
We can get behind that. Let's see. Okay, for the A tier, I'm honestly gonna put. You know, I got for the A tier. I'm gonna put Mustache Guy, just
No.
because he
Professor Port.
he put Weiss in her fucking place, and made like, cause the whole time I was on Weiss's side when she was like, "Why don't I get to be the leader?" And the guy was basically like, "I know it sucks, but like, you know, deal with shit and like don't just bitch every time something doesn't go your way. It's like if you deserve to be leader, then it's like just be the best teammate you can be." And like that's almost better than being a leader because it's like he's basically just like do your own thing and fuck everybody else. And I'm like, I like this guy. Is there anyone else even in A tier? Fuck. You know what? I would put Pyrrha in A tier just because she actually seems like she gives a fuck about John. And God, somebody has to.
I put Pyrrha in A tier as well.
Yeah.
Now John is like, I don't know where to put him. I think as a character, I think as it goes on, he may move up. I think right now I'm gonna put him in B tier, just
Okay.
because.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, at least as far as personal like, I'm gonna put him in B, because I hope he does better later. But
Right now, he just doesn't. He doesn't speak to you.
yeah, no, that's. Who's the guy who was on Speed, A tier.
Good.
Let's see.
Powerful.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm actually gonna put the bully boy in B tier as well, just because
Really?
this man, when he wanted to get back at somebody, he didn't just like push them down the stairs or like take their lunch money. No, he made her teammate get a box of bees. And that's Chad energy right there.
And he scrambled. Don't forget, The way he scrambled up that building
Yes.
like Dracula.
Yes, absolutely. Fucking. I'm trying to think. Actually, as far as characters go, I think I'm gonna put. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna put Weiss in C tier at the moment, just because she does run a possible forced labor camp with her company, and
Her daddy's money.
yeah, she also it's just she's also just like, I don't know. The thing keeping me from putting her in B tier is that even the moments where she starts acting like a human being, it still doesn't even seem genuine. She's smug about her own character development. It's the best way I can describe it. Like, even when she was like, well, I know you're a terrorist, but it's okay. I, in all my loving wisdom and perfection, will accept your apology. Come here, friend. Fuck. You know what? D tier. Fuck.
Talked himself out of it.
I talked myself out of it. Fucking.
All right.
Who's the other one? Oh, who was the dude with the knives and the dude who fought the snake?
Oh, that's Ren.
He's got the toothbrush there.
Ah, there we go. Didn't recognize him with the toothbrush. I'm putting him in C tier, just because I don't know anything about him.
That's fair.
Like,
he hasn't done anything to offend you personally.
No, but the snake
But
fight
he
was
fought a
pretty
cool
lit.
snake.
He fought a cool snake, so. Trying to think. I'm trying to think of an F tier. I think. You know what? Fuck this guy. I just.
Oh, Oz.
He runs the school poorly, and I don't.
All right.
I don't like. Also, he just seems like one of those, like, he's one of those guys in the background here. He's the brooding character who's like, I know more than any of you, but I'm not telling. It's like, fuck you. Tell me the plot, asshole. Anyway, I'm gonna put the monkey boy also in C tier, just
Okay.
because he's a trash character, but it's not his fault. He didn't ask to be made into literally. He is. The fact that they called him Wukong, he's a trope of a trope.
Hey,
And
Dan, have you ever played? There's this really cool character in League of Legends. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry.
They didn't have to make him a monkey. They didn't. Also, are faunas cat or monkey people?
They're
Fauna's
any
an
animal.
animal. They
Oh,
have
Yeah.
So they're just animals.
an
Okay.
animal characteristic.
Okay. Fucking, I'm gonna put. Let me see. I'm gonna put
You know,
this. Sorry, go
really
ahead.
It's really telling you haven't placed the main character yet.
Yeah, I was, because I knew that was gonna be controversial. I'll be honest.
All right. Bold
mean-
choice.
I can't wait for Cheyenne to watch this.
She's just irritating. Like, fucking. Oh, is that the one that Cheyenne identifies with?
Yeah.
Oh,
We don't
God.
need to get into that because we're uploading this on YouTube, but we have a friend who loves RWBY so much.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
Rest in pieces.
Rip in pepperoni.
Let me see. Bunny Girl didn't deserve anything that happened to her, so thank you. I'm trying to. I'm actually, along with B tier, I'm gonna put in Yellow Girl. Just
because she's
Okay.
yellow
No,
and bees are yellow.
if that were the case, it'd be C. But
Oh, snap. I actually also put Yang in B tier.
yeah, because she's kind of, she's there, but she also, like, she helps out her sister. She's a nice older sister. It's like sibling camaraderie. Big fan of that. Let's see. I think I'm gonna put him in B tier as well, just because he's the closest thing to an interesting antagonist we have.
He is
And,
my only other S tier.
And okay, really? So
I think you just like redheads, Dan.
That is true. Here is an A tier for me.
Oh, God.
I do have a thing for redheads. I really do.
Same.
I did dye my hair red for a while. Moving.
Speaking of redheads who will not be making the A tier.
Penny.
Yeah, Penny deserves to be down here
Ooh.
with
Ooh.
the
Bold
I know.
move.
Controversial. I don't even know why I dislike her yet. It's just I think
She's an oddball. She's a bit of an oddball.
and she also just shattered the power dynamics of this whole show. And that was a bit of whiplash for me. That was kind of what are those things? Also, didn't even bring this up. Who broke the moon?
Yes. Oh my god.
didn't even bring that.
completely
Oh my
forgot
God.
that. I completely forgot that while we were watching that, every time the moon appears, you ask that question,
I
and
did.
we keep having to tell you, you have to wait like 5 seasons. You have to wait.
God, just
Or we just throw out nonsensical answers like, it was Nora. It was Ruby's dead mom.
Oh
Wait,
my
I should have put Ruby's dead mom on this,
Oh,
just like
fuck.
based on the silhouette from the intro.
It's fine.
Oh man.
S tier because she's dead, and God, I wish that were me. Anyway.
Dab. Who else is? I think I don't know about this guy because I also just don't know anything about. But I liked how he fought, so I'm gonna put him in C tier.
That's
Okay.
exactly how I felt. I was like,
Okay.
we know nothing about this character at this point, but his fight scene was pretty tight. He goes in C tier.
There we go. It's Glenda Goodwitch. Very much a non-factor. She also was part of that whole thing where they threw the students into a dangerous situation with no available means of helping them if shit went south. So, yeah, as an educator, you're an F tier.
Ozpin has a friend in F tier.
So I'll be honest, is like I'm really fighting hard to not just put almost every girl in the RWBY squad in D tier, but at the same time,
Do it, you coward.
Like Blake is gonna sound pretentious. Blake does not even commit to being the trope she's based off of.
She doesn't really have a character.
Yeah, she's like, even Jack hates it.
Yeah, well, because she's a cat.
Oh, that's true. Fuck Blake. All my homies hate
All right,
Blake.
and then the final
Especially
character,
your dog.
Yeah.
the final character is this black-haired, yellow-eyed woman that we saw in the first episode who was firing shit at Glenda Goodwitch.
She's just mysterious villain question mark in the background at this point.
We also saw her at the very end when her
Yeah.
and her cronies showed up and were talking to Roman.
Yeah, I didn't bother throwing the cronies in yet because we've literally only seen them once and there's like nothing to work with there, so.
I'm gonna put her in an A tier because she just seems like she has her
Why?
shit together.
All right. Can't wait to see how
Is it
that
because
changes.
she has a sexy red dress, Steve?
No, but also, why would you wear that into combat?
I don't know.
Weiss had that same thing where she's like, it's a combat skirt. Those two things
Yeah.
don't go
And
together.
that's why she's in D tier.
Same with Ruby. They both.
Ah.
So wait, Penny. No, Penny doesn't wear a skirt.
She kind of
She
does.
kind of does.
Yeah, it's
But Nora does too, and she's an S tier.
yeah.
Well,
Blake
Nora's
also might have committed.
powerful.
That's true. Also, Blake might have committed terrorism, so I have to put her in D tier just to. But was it justified terrorism?
We don't know yet.
Oh,
Do we
intrigue.
want to discuss any of our discrepancies, or do we want to end it here with
Yeah.
Steve's ranking?
Well, just which one do you disagree with the most?
Cardin and mysterious red dress lady, I put in F tier.
Well, Dan, you have other reasons for putting her there.
Well,
That are
also
based on
because
future knowledge.
she had 2 scenes and did nothing.
But in both scenes, she looked really cool.
You know, I guess I can't argue with that, but
At the very she didn't do anything wrong, and she is intriguing enough where I honestly don't know if they just forgot about her or if they intentionally are like, ooh, we're gonna save the intrigue for next season. And if,
Well, we
if
can
that's the
find
case,
out.
props for holding having some self control on that and leaving some mysteries for the next season. But I almost think you know what? Fuck, I'm trying because like that's almost a point against them because the reason I like her, is because they haven't touched her, so they haven't had a chance to fuck her up yet.
Uh-huh.
You know, I think she's a C tier. Yeah, I'm gonna.
I have convinced him.
You talked me out of it. I can't.
I mean, that's what most of the C tiers are there for. They're characters that
You know
look
nothing
interesting, but you don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't quite understand yet.
only thing I will say is, yeah, this guy right here, he's like, he's one of those guys where it's like if a spot opens up in the class above him, he moves up.
That's,
Okay, so
that's
like
completely
Ren is the
understandable.
top of C tier, is what you're
Yes.
saying.
Yeah, he's a C plus.
He's a starter on the B team.
That's that. You mean a starter on the C team and
yeah,
a,
the C. I'm an idiot.
bencher on the.
I-
He's the bench on the C team or on the B team.
Yes. So he's
Got
not on the B team because there's just no openings. But as soon as an opening happens, he's moving
He's
up
up
to B tier.
All right. Shall we sign off?
I think so. Krista, you got any major discrepancies with
No, I think
With
the
this?
only difference was I think my bias for Weiss in later seasons moved her up a little bit
Oh,
on
okay.
mine, but I think most of my other stuff was almost exactly the same because obviously Nora is the best character and the
Correct.
only one that actually matters.
fucking yes?
And the sole reason I continue to watch this show.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, all right, and I'm fully expecting that some of these characters are probably going to get better for me.
Well, so,
But-
they will move around because
Yeah.
we will learn more about certain characters. Certain characters will do other things. This list is only for season 1, and
Okay.
I'm really curious to see how it progresses.
yes, which is why I'm glad I threw this shit together because I want
you
us
for
to
that.
see
Yeah.
how they shift around as this continues.
Oh man.
All right.
Well, lads, we've covered a lot of
yeah.
ground today. I think we've set the groundwork for some very angry commenters to
100%.
have their way with us. But
Perfection.
exactly, that was
Perfectly
kind of the whole
balanced, as all things should be.
point.
I mean, if we wanted to balance this, we would have actually brought Cheyenne on to be
Oh,
That's
the
true.
voice of true happiness, and like, no, please.
Yes.
So look at them. But
We could
I
consider-
love her.
we could
She's
consider-
very.
yeah.
She is the closest thing to an optimist about this show that we have in our friend group.
So that could be interesting to bring her on as a secondary.
a guest speaker at one
Yeah,
point.
a guest
We
speaker.
just bring her on for season 3.
Oh.
But all right.
Well, until we all convene again to talk about RWBY Volume 2.
we out.